What does it look like when a player turns the page on the toughest year of their career and suddenly becomes the center of attention at a Team USA training camp? That's the story unfolding with Caitlin Clark right now. After spending the last 8 months focused on recovery and rebuilding her game, Clark stepped back into the gym, and it didn't take long for people to notice. Within just a few days, she became one of the biggest talking points at camp. The shots were falling, the tempo was faster whenever she had the ball, and even some of the experienced veterans started glancing at each other like, yeah, she's operating on another level now. It wasn't just about scoring either. Her confidence looked sharper, her decision-making quicker, and the overall energy she brought to the floor felt different. As in the kind of difference you can't ignore when you're watching it live. So the real question is, what changed during those 8 months? What adjustments did she make while she was away from the spotlight? And what did she reveal in that recent interview that has both Indiana Fever fans and Team USA supporters feeling optimistic about what's coming next? Because if these early training camp moments are any indication, Caitlin Clark isn't just returning. She might be stepping into an entirely new version of herself. Now I want to hear from you. Are you excited to see Caitlin Clark back on the court? Drop your thoughts down in the comments.
First feeling gonna be like suiting up for the senior national team.
Oh, it's gonna be amazing. Like as a kid, this is what you grow up watching. So obviously I've watched a lot of really great players, and now I think it's kind of like gonna be a pinch me moment. Like this is kind of what you dream of, and obviously as being somebody that's played for 3 junior national teams, you know, not many kids that had that opportunity get this opportunity.
Imagine being Caitlin Clark during the 2025 season. Just when it seemed like things might start turning around, another setback would appear. One injury led to the next, and before long, the season became a frustrating cycle of recovery instead of competition. Instead of leading the action on the court, Clark found herself watching from the sidelines, sometimes from the bench, other times from home, while her teammates battled without her. Every time it felt like a return might finally be close, another obstacle showed up and pushed that moment further away. For Indiana Fever fans, it was a tough reality to accept. Their star player, the face of the franchise, was suddenly absent for long stretches. Games kept coming and going, but Clark's presence on the floor felt like it had vanished for what seemed like an eternity. The injury situation wasn't simple or straightforward. It wasn't the kind of setback where a player gets hurt once, knows the timetable, and works their way back. Instead, the problems kept piling up one after another. That's the kind of stretch that can wear on an athlete mentally more than anything else. One injury is something players are used to handling. You go through rehab, put in the work, and focus on getting back to full strength. But when the setbacks keep repeating, that's when the mental battle really begins. That's when uncertainty starts to creep in. Caitlin Clark even admitted it herself. She openly said the injuries started to mess with her head. And when you think about who's saying that, it carries real weight. This is a player who stepped into the WNBA as a rookie and immediately made her presence felt across the league. So when someone with that kind of confidence and impact acknowledges that the situation affected her mentally, it shows just how difficult that stretch of the season truly was.
I mean, I've always been a person that's gonna just rely on my work. Like I feel like it's certainly made me work harder, but that's also probably the part that kind of stunk about it, is I felt like I put in so much time and so much energy going into last season, and then obviously I only appeared in about 13 games, and some of those probably wasn't as healthy as I probably should have been. So I think just relying on that, I think for me, like, you know, obviously I didn't have, like, it's not like I, you know, hurt my knee or, you know, tore my Achilles or something like that. Obviously, knock on wood, it was kind of these nagging injuries that continued to build up and dealt with one on top of the other. And
what really stood out was how openly she talked about the whole experience. It wasn't the usual carefully polished response you hear from athletes. Caitlin Clark spoke in a way that felt much more personal and real. She talked about the uncertainty of not knowing when her body would truly feel right again. She described the frustration that comes with waiting, recovering, and dealing with the constant question of when things will finally turn around. Sitting with that kind of uncertainty isn't easy, especially for someone used to competing at the highest level. Most athletes tend to avoid showing that side of the struggle. They'd rather keep things guarded so they don't appear vulnerable, but Clark didn't shy away from it. She addressed it directly. What makes the story even more interesting is what she said next. She didn't just say the experience was difficult and leave it there. Instead, she explained that she returned even better than she was at the start of last season. Not simply back to normal, not just back to her previous level, better. And that one word says a lot about how she views everything she went through. It wasn't just a setback in her mind, it was part of the process that pushed her to become an even stronger player.
That was probably almost, played with my mind even more than like knowing I was going to be out for a set period of time. I was like always trying to come back. And then I'd get hurt in another way. And then, finally, obviously shutting it down. I've had a good, 6 months or maybe more. And I think the first USA basketball camp was a great checkpoint for me. And I felt really great. Honestly, I was impressed with like how with it I felt. Like sometimes I felt like it maybe would take me a day or two to really get my first step back. But I felt like myself out there.
Because the effort she put in during that time wasn't limited to simple rehab. Caitlin Clark made it clear that the goal was much bigger than just healing. She focused on getting herself into the best shape possible for this stage of her career. And the way she described it made one thing obvious. This wasn't about doing the minimum required to return to the court. It was about rebuilding everything from the ground up. Her conditioning, her workouts, her skill development, every part of her game was part of the process. And behind all of that hard work, there's another layer that hasn't really been talked about much. The 2024 Olympic roster decision. Clark wasn't included on that team. She didn't publicly complain or create controversy over it. She handled it quietly and moved forward. But moments like that tend to stay with a competitor. So now, when she steps into a Team USA training gym, it means more than just another practice. There's a deeper motivation behind it, something that goes beyond the game itself.
Just remind myself who I am and what I've been, and I didn't lose that, so just continue to do that.
The moment she stepped on the court, everyone noticed it. The coaches, her teammates. And if you watch the clips from those opening days of camp, it's clear even to the casual observer. Caitlin Clark didn't move like someone cautiously easing back from a long layoff. Here's something that doesn't get mentioned enough. Most athletes returning from a serious injury take it slow. They test the waters, feeling out their body and avoiding unnecessary strain. That's just instinct when you've been through a long recovery. But Clark didn't follow that pattern. From day one, she attacked the court, pushing the pace, taking shots, and asserting herself like she never left. And watching the footage makes that absolutely undeniable.
Look at that knockdown. One more time, Caitlin. Give it to him one more time. One more time. Side step. Come on, man. Smooth. Smooth as a baby's behind. Knockdown, baby. I like it. Let's go, Caitlin. Hey, we locked in, man. Y'all see how clean USA basketball is looking right now? Come on, man. I know it's just some chill drills. I know y'all can say, man, Izzy, you hyping this up a little too much. But honestly, it is just a good.
Let's break down what this setting really looked like. This wasn't some relaxed, casual team hangout. The schedule was intense, 5 games in 7 days, with a roster stacked full of seasoned veterans and rising stars, all fighting for playing time and spots on the floor. And then there was Caitlin Clark stepping into that mix after 8 months away from competitive basketball. From the very first day, the energy and intensity were off the charts. Naturally, the big question on everyone's mind was, would she hold back? Often when players return from a long layoff, you can see it in their game. They protect themselves without even realizing it. Maybe it shows up in the drives, a little hesitation where there used to be confidence. Maybe a pull-up 3 turns into a cautious shot fake. These are the subtle signs that tell you a player is still sorting through the mental side of a comeback, even when they insist they feel ready. She didn't take long to answer that question. From the very first drills, her shots were dropping. Clean, precise, and consistent, not just occasionally, but over and over. When it came to 5-on-5 play, she was all in, pushing the pace, making quick, confident decisions, never hesitating to act. The intensity and energy she brought immediately caught the eyes of analysts, fans, and teammates alike. Then came the moment that really changed the room, the game-winning shot and drills. That one basket shifted the whole camp vibe. The reaction from her teammates was instant. High fives, celebrations, the kind of excitement usually reserved for actual games. And while a made shot in practice might seem minor, this one carried weight. It sent a clear message to everyone there, teammates, coaches, and even herself. She wasn't just showing up to go through the motions. Caitlin Clark was back to compete, and she meant business. Paige Bueckers and Kelsey Plum didn't hold back when talking about what it was like to share the court with her. And when athletes of that caliber openly say she looks different, that's not just polite chatter, that's a real acknowledgement. Competitors notice the subtle things, and their comments carry serious weight. The overall camp dynamic was striking too. Clark moving alongside Plum, Chelsea Gray, and Bueckers created a mix of youthful energy and veteran precision that felt fresh, like nothing seen in previous Team USA camps. Someone even described it as young and turned, which surprisingly fits. It wasn't a group still feeling each other out. The chemistry clicked immediately. By the end of that first week, the question of whether she belonged there had vanished. It wasn't a single standout moment that made it clear. Instead, it was the sum of countless small actions, every pass, every play, every confident move that told coaches and teammates alike, Caitlin Clark was fully back and completely in the mix.
I don't even think it's like necessarily maybe nerves to a certain extent, probably almost like butterflies. Like this is a super cool opportunity. And like, if you didn't feel that way, you probably don't really care enough about it. Like that's how I feel about it for myself. Like this is a different stage. Like you're not gonna come out here and be the star player. That's not how it's gonna be for USA basketball. Like you're gonna find a way to help the team win. You're gonna find a way to compete to the best of your ability. But I think for myself, like there's certainly a level of, I don't want to call it nerves, but excitement and joy. And I mean, I haven't played basketball in 8 months either. So getting to do it at this level for my first time back, like there's no better way, like get tossed out into the fire and figure it out. But I felt really good through practice. So more than anything, just really excited. But I know day of the game, I'm going to be hyped up and probably a little anxious.
When Caitlin Clark said, "Oh, it's going to be amazing," it might sound like the usual athlete hype, but when you put that statement alongside everything she went through in 2025 and the disappointment of missing the 2024 Olympics, it carries a whole different weight. This isn't just a player repeating a polished media line. This is someone who had to wait longer than most on that roster to experience this moment. In her interview about wearing the Team USA jersey, she went deeper. She spoke about the players she idolized growing up, the stars she watched and wanted to emulate, and how stepping into that uniform finally connected to a dream she had been chasing her entire life. It wasn't just pride in the present moment, it was a sense of completion, like this achievement had been quietly building inside her for years, and now the moment had finally caught up. And she didn't show up carrying a chip on her shoulder. There was no "I need to prove something" attitude. Instead, she came in genuinely excited, and her teammates noticed immediately. That kind of positive energy spreads fast in a camp setting, which is a big reason the group connected with her so quickly. Clark was also very clear about her long-term vision, especially regarding 2028. She's not treating these current qualifiers as the ultimate goal. They're just the first step in a much bigger plan. She said it plainly, the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles are the real destination, and everything she's doing now is building toward that bigger picture.
Once you start those games, it's 5 games in 7 days.
Yeah.
Just how are you gonna ramp up to that and just make sure?
I guess we're gonna find out like really quickly like what type of shape I'm in, and I feel like I've put myself in the best possible shape that I could be in at this point. And you know, sometimes almost the first game is the hardest, but once you get in kind of the flow of things and you figure things out and you kind of get your wind back, you're in a little bit better of a position. But it's definitely going to be quite a few in a short period of time, but that's kind of what makes it fun. You play, and it's very similar to the WNBA. You have back-to-backs, you have 1 day in between, so I feel like that's something we're also used to. Maybe not quite the 5 games in 7 days, but that's also just international competition. So, it's what I've dealt with in the past, and then going forward, hopefully for, looking forward to the World Cup if I'm not lucky enough to be on that team. Like, it's the same exact scenario with even more games. So it's great preparation.
Now imagine this core group: Caitlin Clark, Paige Buchers, Angel Reese, Kiki Irwin, and what Team USA is actually shaping here. The veterans at camp aren't just spectators, they're actively mentoring and pushing this young group forward. And Clark, she's no longer just blending in, she's becoming one of the pillars of that unit. Let's be honest, everything we saw at that Team USA camp is basically a preview of Indiana Fever basketball in 2026, and the signs are extremely promising. Yeah, think about what Clark is building right now. The confidence of making shots after 8 months away, the leadership experience of running a backcourt at the international level, and the in-game decision-making she's honing against elite defenders. All of that comes back with her. When the Fever get Clark in 2026, they're not just getting a fully healthy player, they're getting a Clark who spent her off-season elevating every part of her game.
I remember Kara Cowan talking to us, like, when me and Paige, and I know AB isn't here, but even I played with Ryan on the U19 team. Like, on the junior national teams, there's only going to be like a couple of you that end up making it to make a senior debut. So whether that's the World Cup, whether the World Cup qualifier, whether that's, the Olympics, every single part of it and part of the journey is really special. So I know we're a ways away even from the World Cup, and obviously a ways away from the Olympics, but this is still really exciting in itself, and kind of the first.
Here's the thing about 2025. It wasn't just tough because Caitlin Clark was injured. The entire team's ceiling took a hit without her orchestrating the offense. Lexi Hall couldn't fully utilize her strengths without Clark pulling defenders away. And Sophie Cunningham's versatility and physicality couldn't stretch the floor the way it should have. The offensive engine just stalled. So heading into 2026, the question isn't just whether Clark is healthy, it's whether this roster can build on the upgraded version of her that's emerging right now. And that makes her partnership with Hall and Cunningham especially important. Hull is evolving into a dependable wing who can move effectively off the ball, while Cunningham brings that tough physical edge in scoring. Pair those two with a fully locked in floor general Clark, and Indiana's offense next season could be something really special. Here's where it gets even more interesting. Off the court, Clark has handled the CBA situation with a measured team-first approach. She hasn't been loud, divisive, or trying to make headlines, and that speaks volumes. How a player navigates those kinds of public challenges often reflects how they operate in the locker room. Both Team USA and the Indiana Fever are benefiting from a leader who keeps the focus squarely on basketball, and that floor general side of her, it was real. At camp, it showed in how she controlled the tempo, found open teammates in international style sets, and made quick, smart decisions under pressure without forcing her own shot. Clark has always been a prolific scorer, but the player we saw at camp was more than just that. Beyond the X's and O's, camp also revealed her personality, the energy she brought to teammates, the way she reacted in small moments between drills, and how she made people actually want to play alongside her. Those little things matter over the course of a long, grueling season. Ever fans spent all of 2025 waiting, watching, and wondering when Caitlin Clark would return, and what kind of player she would be when she did. Now she's out there saying she's not just back to her old self, she's beyond it. The 2025 season was a chapter nobody wanted, but seeing her at this Team USA camp, it feels less like a setback and more like the perfect setup for what's next. Here's the key: Clark's comeback isn't just about being healthy. The injuries, the Olympic snub, the 8 months away from the court, it all honed a skill set and a mindset that was already elite. And the first people noticing it, the players sharing the floor with her at camp. So whether you're a Fever fan, a Team USA supporter, or just a basketball lover, these FIBA qualifiers are must watch. Drop a comment below if you're hyped to see Clark back in action. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click the video on screen and we'll see you in the next one.